Well, it's the question you hear a lot. Is AI going to take my job? Well, with reports that nearly a quarter of all occupations globally are expected to change in the next 2 years, experts are calling for students to be more selective and better informed about their career choices.
So which industries are set to survive and thrive over the next decade? And how do we help future-proof our jobs and prepare today's school kids for a new working world?
Here to break it all down, we welcome futurist and author Michael McQueen. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
Hey, Mike.
Children starting school this year will graduate in 2038. That's just scary.
Isn't it?
Can we even imagine what the job market will look like there?
It's so tricky. I mean, prediction generally is tricky. I can't predict US foreign policy next week at this point, much less like a few years out. So, but the reality, you think about the last few decades, jobs that people have today that didn't exist, like being an Uber driver or a social media strategist or like a drone operator, didn't even exist. So it is tricky to forecast. But for every parent, every teacher, we've got to, because we've got to gear our students up for this world.
What jobs are just going to disappear off the face of the earth in the next decade?
Well, some of them you'd probably predict. So we're talking bank tellers, data clerks, cash register operators as we go toward, self-serve, increasingly even biometric technology. But there are some other professions I think that'll be interesting to see play out. We'll see professions that at the moment are fairly safe, but maybe not as safe, particularly white-collar jobs. In the legal profession, some accounting, bookkeeping type-related roles. So we'll see a number of professions really change a lot because of AI in the next little while.
OK, so they're the declining ones. What about the ones set to thrive?
Yeah, so interestingly, first one is caring. Anything related to caring. So we're talking medical care, aged care with an ageing population, particularly allied health, so speech pathology, things like that. Obviously, AI, machine learning specialists, robotics engineers. But the big one that's going to be interesting to watch is we are seeing a number of professions that are related to cybersecurity being a real growth area. So if you look at cybercrime, if it was a national economy, it'd be the third largest economy in the world, $10 trillion in cybercrime every year. And that's only going to get worse. So cybersecurity is going to be a real growth area to look at.
But I would have thought that would be something that AI will be more and more involved with anyway.
It'll be involved in creating it, like with deep fakes, for instance. So it'll help, but I think we still need human insight, human judgment, intuition. These are the things that will count.
You say human-centred roles are also safe. What is that exactly, and which jobs are resilient?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it, I think we've talked about this before, is that idea that in the past jobs are about muscle, being physically strong. Now they're about brains. In the future they'll be about heart. So it's what can you bring to the equation that a machine can't do? Like things like deep creativity, intuition, judgment. The big one, empathy. I mean, you think about, like, say, aged care or medical care. You can automate caregiving. You can't automate caring. Robots don't care, and neither does AI. So only humans do that.
OK, so AI is coming in and it's coming fast and it's unstoppable. How can today's students future-proof their careers? Where would they start?
Well, focus on, certainly the people skill side. So communication, things like negotiation skills, persuasion, influence skills, critical thinking, is going to be increasingly important, particularly as social media companies stop fact-checking stuff, like being able to use your brain and step back from information, but also AI skills, actually getting good with this technology. So 71% of employers say they would rather favour a lesser experienced employee who can use AI than someone who's experienced but can't.
Is that right?
And so upskilling constantly is important for all of us.
What's the biggest mistake parents and educators can make when trying to shape their kids' futures?
I reckon the big one here is to overemphasise university study. And university is great, but it's not for everyone. And in fact, if you look at the future, it's probably going to be a lot of trades education, traineeships, apprenticeships that are going to really set students up well in the future. But something like 80% of parents would rather their kids go to uni because they see it as better. So that's the first one. The other is not to try and get your kids to just replicate your path because it's worked for you. There's no point giving someone a roadmap for a landscape that has fundamentally changed since that map was drawn up. And so we're going to be so mindful not just to hand on to our kids what's worked for us.
Hey, this is a big question, but we'll have a crack at it. We said that the students starting now, finish school, graduate in 2038. What kind of world are they going to be stepping into? What are the streets going to be like? The shops and the jobs and what's
that's right, and the jet taxis.
And the jet taxis. Well, yes, certainly. So you think about just some of the mega trends that I think are pretty sure bets. So firstly, we'll be living longer. The average kid starting school this year will be over 100 will be their average lifespan. So that has huge impacts on the way they live and the way they work. The other big thing we're going to see is the impact of climate change. So things like vertical farming, the way our cities function will shift. But another big one is how we travel. So we're talking drones and flying cars, supersonic jets, flights from here to London, 2.5, 3 hours. So
wow.
very exciting stuff coming on the horizon.
Wow. So you've been really smart about this too. When you've looked at, what career is going to survive in the future, you've become a futurist, meaning that the future is always going to be there.
Yep.
See, so he's walking the walk and talking the talk. He's doing the whole thing, isn't he?
Don't see morning show hosts anywhere on any list.
Yes, I didn't know that, right?
It didn't like it.
Well, it's a given.
We were prompting you a few times because we're caring, we've got heart, we're human.
And yeah, human-centred. I thought that would be...
There
Not
you
even
go.
a mention.
It's what you do well, guys. It's a given.
Yeah, that sounded like a bit of... That sounded
Goes without saying.
Mate,
Thank you,
so
Michael.
interesting talking to you
Thank you
always.
so much.
Lovely
Cheers.
to see you. Thank you.